All right, guys, well, we're back out here with the John boat. Once again, I have my assistant out here to help. For today's video, we're going to be installing a bow mount trolling motor. This is going to be my first trolling motor with spot lock. I'm really excited. I've heard nothing but great things. Can't wait to get this on the boat. All right, so I went ahead and I got this set up on the front of the boat here. I've just rough positioned it on where I think it's going to need to be. When this launches, this little circle ring here is where the collar to the top of the trolling motor sits. So this is what needs to clear the front of the boat to make sure there's enough room for the trolling motor. I'm gonna need to build some type of mount to make this work. First step in the installation instructions is to get these side plates off. There's 2 screws on each side, and this should give us access to the mounting locations. There's one right here behind the cord. I think this one's going to be staying on the cord. Okay, and do the ones on this side now. There we go. So after reviewing the installation instructions and taking a look after having the side covers off, this is going to be pretty simple. There's 3 mounting holes on each side. Ideally, we can use all 3, but minimum is 2 on each side. So what I'm going to do is position this where it needs to be, find some way to steady it, and then start working on a aluminum angle mount so we can have this raised up enough to clear, the front lip on the boat here. Okay, so for the mount, when I bought all my aluminum angle for the flooring, they accidentally gave me 1 piece of 1/8 aluminum. I've been saving it because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, but I think using this for the trolling motor mount is going to be a really great idea. The 1.5 inch angle actually puts it pretty much perfect for where we want it to be. So what I think I'm going to do is rivet down a piece of angle like that, and then rivet another piece like this. And then up top here will be our mounting spots. So what I've decided to do to make sure that this is just super solid is I'm actually going to be cutting the angle, and then I'm going to be notching out the bottom of it here. That way it's a completely flat surface, since this is, slightly taller than the front here. This way the mount will just kind of sit right above it a little bit, and then it'll just be perfect. So with these 2 pieces cut, this one needs to come up to about right here. There we go. This piece will slide right here. So I got this side support cut, and then the second support, it's going to come out a little bit, so probably about right there. Now I'm going to come from the front. So now with this in place here, we will be able to mount the trolling motor right on top. I'm going to get this bottom plate on first, then I'll get this piece riveted on to the side. While I still have the room, then I'll be able to do this side. So this will be next. I'm going to start with this piece here. All right, so now this piece has got to be riveted in place here. So now the front mount is in. Before I rivet everything down on this side, I'm going to try and test fit this again, just to make sure we're all lined up where my marks were originally, and see how everything looks. All right, so after a couple different versions of this, I've come to the conclusion that I need to change up my design just slightly. Basically, I can't have it running straight down the side of the boat, because then I have no room to attach the bolts on the side here. So I brought it in a little bit and I angled it so it still runs along the side of the boat, which is great. Then I had this side set up so when this side of the bracket was on, the bolts were on the inside under the trolling motor mount, and I couldn't get to the bolts that way. So I remade this piece. So now it's going to sit with the flange part facing on the outside. I'm reorienting the bottom plate here, and then I'll have access to both sides of the mount, and I'll be able to get this all bolted up. All right, so with the last bracket in place now, I'm gonna go ahead and clamp this up, do a test fit, and just make sure everything's perfect before I rivet this last piece down. Okay, so far so good. Like that, and if so, Plenty of clearance. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark and drill out those 2 mounting holes on the back. They said it needs at least 2 mounting holes to be attached securely, so we should definitely have that in place. So all the bolts fit into the bolt holes. Now, got to find how to get the nuts and washers on them. For most of the open ones, it'll be pretty easy. That's why I reversed the angle, so I have access to the front of it. It's just these front tight ones are going to be a little difficult. All right, all the bolts are in. Let's give it our first deployment and see if it works. Out here, a little twist to clear the trailer. Absolutely awesome. I'm so happy with how this mount came out. It is super, super sturdy, super solid. I probably got about 45 rivets into that. And I would take the front of the boat off before that mount came off. All right, so everything's looking good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get these side covers back on. Definitely gives it a more complete look now. All right, so next thing we need to get installed is the heading sensor. This was going to tell the trolling motor the GPS location and which direction the boat is facing. It has an arrow pointing towards the front of the boat. This wants to be mounted in the front center of the boat. So there's already a hole cut out here. I'm not sure what this was for, but it's right in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize that. I'm going to run my wires down below here. And this is just going to go right under here. And I'll be able to pick that up under the front bow here. Okay. Well, that makes that really easy. Now this can just get installed right here facing the front of the boat. This calls for a 9/64 drill bit. Okay, that takes care of the heading sensor. Now the last thing we need to do is install the prop, and then we can get this wired up. Okay, so installing the prop looks pretty simple. Let's get this nut off here. It's a 1/2 inch. Discard the red washer. And we're gonna use the silver washer on top of the prop. Okay, so this plastic piece comes off. The drive pin, which is this little piece here, do not lose that when you take that off, is going to slot into that section of the prop right there. It'd probably be easier to do this with the prop facing up. So the pin is gonna go into the shaft right here. Then the prop is gonna go in position so that you can see in the shaft there where that line is, that's gonna go on top of the drive pin. You want to make sure that seats onto the pin. We saw how it went down. You can also feel the resistance now when you turn it. Our washer and the prop nut. Prop has been installed. Now we can work on wiring this up. Oh yeah, that's looking real good now. All right, so I got my wires all set up here. I'm gonna be using those self-seal wire connectors that I used in the boat trailer video. These things work really, really good. I'll throw a link in the description if you guys wanna check them out. But basically you just thread it on the one side, you thread the other side of the wire into the other side, and then you just heat it up with a heat gun, and the whole thing just shrink wraps and solders itself together. All right, so I got the one side ready. I'm gonna thread on the heat shrink wire connector. Gonna position it right over the solder spot. Gonna thread both of the neutral wires through, mash it all together in the middle there, and then we heat. All right, so that soldered that connection. It's waterproof and sealed. I have the black wires running to the neutral to the battery. Now I'm going to try to do the same thing for the positive side. All right, so with the wires connected together now, I'm just going to wrap this in some electrical tape to protect it even further. And then this should be fully wired up from the front. Okay. All right, let's see if we have power. Oh, we're seeing showing a full battery. Now we can go ahead and let's get this bag off the top now. I think we're good to finally take this off, huh? Okay, so do we turn it on with the controller or from the actual trolling motor? Let's see. Motor not found. Okay, so I know we have to pair the controller somehow. So let's try turning it on. There we go. Oh, perfect. Yeah, that connected right up. No GPS fix. All right, now do we have GPS now? No GPS fix. Okay, now we have to pair the GPS unit to the trolling motor. Let's see, how do we do that? Connect the sensor to a power source, power the trolling motor on, press the pair button on the heading sensor. As quickly as possible, begin to hold down the pair button on the iPilot control head. So there's a button up top that says pair. I have to hold that till it starts blinking and then hold the pair button. Let's go. Okay. That sounds like it paired. I just held it down till it stopped blinking. And we have GPS now. Oh, this is gonna be fun. We can just go north. Look at that. To actually make it move, I guess you hit the little plus sign to get some speed going. You can crank it up by looks like half increments. I'm not gonna go crazy outside of the water though. Cool. We're looking good there. You can just go north, it looks like. This is awesome. All right, guys, well, there you have it. The trolling motor is officially installed. I got the spot lock and iPilot set up. The custom mount has been fabricated and completely solid. This would take the front deck off the boat before this trolling motor falls off. Everything worked with that. We tested that out. I ran the electricals straight through the top for both the GPS and the trolling motor. Came down here, tied into our duplex line, running that down the side here. That's all hooked up to the lithium battery in the back here. I just threw on a quick kill switch and my bilge pump. We're pretty much good to roll now. This was quite a project. This is the first trolling motor mount that I've built. I think it came out pretty good. I hope it's helpful for you guys. I think that it's pretty easy to reproduce. So if it's something you're needing to do, there you go. I'm hoping to take this boat out soon. I'll be throwing up a video for the first time having it out there after the float pods and the trolling motors installed. Got some cool stuff coming up for the outboard. Lots of fun stuff on the way. If you guys found this helpful, let me know by hitting that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching. Once again, I got my helper with here. Once again, I got my... Okay, let's try.